So, Liverpool, former champions of Europe, current champions of England. Everybody thinks that their top four run has hit a brick wall. They think that they're devoid of ideas and that they have no chance of making it into Europe. In this video, I'm going to go through the reasons why I think people are jumping to that conclusion too soon. And I think that the Reds can indeed secure themselves that Champions League football. As always, if you could like and subscribe, that would be very much appreciated, as it would help me out a lot. And let me know down in the comment section down below what you think about Liverpool's prospects this season. Now look, it's no wonder why people are saying this about Liverpool, because they have hit a rotten patch of form recently, only winning 4 out of their last 10 games. The same team that had the league virtually wrapped up by this time last year currently sit in 7th on 43 points. Now on the surface that looks very, very bad, but you've got to take into account the fact that 4th place Chelsea are only 4 points ahead of them. So with 11 games still to go, there's really a lot of points up for grabs, and Liverpool aren't that far out of it. Now when it comes to talking about Liverpool and their chances and what's been going on with them this year, I'll go through an old adage that works for everything in life, and that is that life works in cycles. And going off an old Jamie Carragher quote about Premier League football in general, things are never as good as you think they are, and things are never as bad as they think they are. So while they were romping the league last year, beating everyone in sight, not getting defeated at Anfield for over 2 years, everyone got very excited thinking, oh, these guys are going to romp the league for another 4 or 5 years on the bounce. But they forget to remember what happened with Man City. Man City were doing equally the same thing, and then last year all of a sudden dropped off out of nowhere. Why does this happen? Because sides like Liverpool and Man City, the way they play with their high octane football, their high pressing, their constant running and outrunning of the opposition, keeping themselves at that mental edge that they need to perform like that, is not very sustainable over a 5, 6, 7, 8 year plan. You are going to have little drop-offs in between, and it's never as good. You're never as invincible as you think you are. But that same token applies for how they are now. You're never as shit as people think you are either. Because look, now everyone's writing them off. They're going the other way. They're thinking, oh, Liverpool could be going down to mid-table here. What's going? Klopp's shit. Klopp's useless. Worst champions. Terrible champions. Worst champions since David Moyes. I'm hearing all these kind of things going on. However, that's not really the case. You just gotta, take everything with a grain of salt. I think the next 6 games could be very telling for Liverpool's prospects of getting top 4, and they could either be written out of it or really in the driving seat. I don't think there'll be any in between. They'll either be in the driving seat for it, or they'll be completely chalked out, in my opinion. I'm backing the earlier, and I feel like they have some very winnable games in those next 6 fixtures. I back them to get a hat-trick of results off the back, beating Wolves, Fulham and Arsenal. I don't feel like those sides will give them any trouble. I feel like Arsenal may throw a spanner in the works. However, Liverpool have dealt with Arsenal quite comfortably when they have played against them under Mikel Arteta. I feel like they'll pick up 1 win and 1 draw out of Villa, Newcastle and Leeds. I personally think the loss will come against Leeds and the draw will come against Villa and the win against Newcastle. However, any one of those 3 could happen, and I do feel they'll get 4 wins, 1 draw and 1 loss out of that, getting them about 13 points. And these 13 points could really push them up, because it is tight there and there have been a lot of points dropped this season, and I do think that the other sides around them will all drop points. I don't see anyone else doing what City are doing right now, and I do think that the season will carry on as it has been, with everybody taking points off everyone. I think for me the main problem comes in the 2 sides around them in Everton and West Ham, who are really throwing spanners in the works here. Nobody thought they were going to be anywhere near top 4. Let's be real. Maybe people thought Everton were going to have a good year, but West Ham, nobody thought West Ham were going to be here. Let's be real here. I thought they were going to be battling for relegation. So that shows how much I know. But what I will say is that I don't necessarily think that West Ham will have enough to do it. Now, where I think Liverpool can start to pick up the points against their opposition starts when we look into their Merseyside rivals, Everton. Because Everton's first game is against fellow top 4 rival Chelsea. So whatever way you think the game's going to go, one of them has to drop points. And if Liverpool can pick up a victory, then they can easily climb their way back up there. And one of those 2 will be going below them. I personally think Chelsea will have too much for Everton in that first game. I think Tuchel has got them playing some some serious football recently. I don't back it to continue for the whole rest of the season. I feel like it is in some ways unsustainable. If you listen to some things I've heard a few Chelsea fans say, I've heard them saying things like, you know, when teams come at us, there can be a few problems there that haven't necessarily been exposed so far. However, against Everton, I do think they will continue their hot streak of form. I feel like the Chelsea loss could spiral Everton into a bit of a yo-yo form where they're winning, they're losing, they're winning, they're losing, and I don't think they'll get a consistent run of form in these next 6 games. They also have to end that run of 6 games against 2 very tough teams in Arsenal and Spurs back to back. And I feel like generally they will drop some points, and I back them to get about 8 points out of the possible 18. Chelsea, like I say, have to play Everton, and then they also have to play West Ham. So that's 2 more games in which points will be dropped and Liverpool could capitalise on. So I think, look, the more you look into this, the more likely it is that Liverpool can in fact get top 4. It's just a matter of them. Are they going to have the mental resilience to bounce back after these poor couple of results recently? And I think they will. Now, the thing with Chelsea, look, sure, they've been winning, but their performances, yeah, they've shored up their defence, and they did play very well against Liverpool. But there have been a few murmurings of paperings over the crack, and I do think that they will necessarily lose their second game and they may hit a bit of rocky form. They could prove me wrong and just continue to start trouncing teams. However, I do think they'll hit some rocky form, and I think they'll probably drop about 10 points in the next 6 games. I feel like a high-octane team like Leeds coming at them could really unsettle them, because like I said, I've heard from some Chelsea fans that when teams come out and try and hit them, that is when they haven't really been tested. They've been tested against sides who haven't really had too much of the ball. But when it comes to teams trying to play them off the park, there have been a few issues there. And I do think that could cause a bit of a yo-yo effect with Chelsea as well, where they can't really necessarily find their feet in the next 6 games. And I feel like them themselves could also drop about 10 points in their next coming fixture. I think Leicester will stay clear in that top 4 for now. I don't see them beating City and I don't see them beating West Ham. But aside from that, I see them picking up points in pretty much all of the other fixtures. So I think they will be comfortable in the top 4 for now. It will just be a matter of their bottle in the last few games of the season. I mean, when I was surmising these fixtures, I didn't realize, like, I knew, like, I'm a Leeds fan and I knew we had a lot of big games coming up, but West Ham playing us next as well. We're playing all of these teams. We could have a massive impact on this running and we could really decide how this is going to shape up. But West Ham will be starting with Leeds and they will be starting with an absolute spanking. Now, in all seriousness, obviously they are going to be the favourites going into that, because Leeds have been absolutely shocking in London as of late. We've won once in the past 5 years, so a lot of people do think West Ham will pick up a victory there. Me, myself and I beg to differ with that, but then again, maybe that's just my hope, my pride kicking in. But then after that, I do see them beating Man United. I could see a possible Messi-Lingard masterclass on the cards there, but then apart from a possible loss to Arsenal and a draw to Leicester, I don't see them dropping too many other points, so I do think they'll be there and thereabouts. However, I do think they'll drop more points than Liverpool, and I think Liverpool will go above them by the time these next 6 games are up. So how would the league currently shape up after the next 6 games with my predictions? Well, first it would leave Leicester on 3rd place with 61 points, quite a few points ahead of everyone else. And again, I do think it will be a matter of where their bottle kicks in the end of the season. However, below them, this is where things are looking really interesting. I have Liverpool in 4th place on 56 points. I have Chelsea and West Ham joint on 55 points, and then Everton trailing just behind on 54 points. And then with only 5 games to go, we could have a really interesting top 4 battle on our hands, and I do back Liverpool to pull through in it. But let me know what you think. Maybe your voices differ. Maybe you're a Liverpool fan and you think I'm chatting absolute wass. Let me know what you think down in the comment section down below. This is about to get very, very, very tasty, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.